welcome to Body Transformation TV. I'm Hayden Dawson. We're extremely privileged to have Brooke Doyle with us today. And the transformation Brooke's made over the past, it's going back about 8 weeks now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going back 8 weeks now. You know, the idea of this show is to give you actionable content that you can actually do at home. You know, the people we're going to be talking to and interviewing are just everyday people who have done amazing things, made amazing transformations. And the way they've approached it is in a healthy, sustainable way that, you know, fits in with being a mum or working full-time or trying to juggle a million different things. But Brooke, if you can just share with everyone exactly where you were about 8 weeks ago, how you felt, you know, just kind of explain your story then.
Yeah, basically I was caught up in just that being a busy working mum. You've got to, you know, when you're working and you're a mum, you're always racing the clock. You're always under pressure. There's always things that get in your way and you always kind of put yourself last. So for me, I was starting to feel tired, I was getting irritable, my clothes weren't fitting, I just felt, you know, really run down. And I knew a lot of it had to do with I wasn't looking after myself. So it kind of came to a point where I'm a big person on social media, so you would see all these health trends coming up on my news feed, and I just thought, you know what, I think it's time for a change. I feel like I deserve better and I want to feel better. So that's kind of where my turning point was.
So all the way back then, what beliefs did you have about your health and fitness? Did you have any beliefs that maybe you couldn't do, or what was kind of stopping you from making that transformation sooner?
I think a lot of the time, normal everyday people kind of put health like, oh, it's a gimmick, it's an expensive gimmick, people in these gyms, and you kind of have this idea that, and it's false, I've learned that it's false now, but you kind of put health to the side, like even when you're shopping you're like, oh, I'm not buying that, you know, you're so preconditioned into how you've grown up, and you know, you just fall into bad habits all the time. And when you rush for time and you're disorganized and you're not consciously thinking all the time, oh, I value my health, that's what happens. So I think for me, my attitude towards my health and my values weren't very good because I wasn't conscious of them.
So where was health on your values hierarchy?
Low. It was pretty low. I think at the point where I'm at with a young family, you've always got obviously your kids' health priority, partner's health priority, but everything else to do with yourself is really low. So I think, and money obviously, and all these everyday kind of things, they consume so much of your time that at the end of the day, when you're sat there and you're like, oh, everyone's in bed and I can, you know, unwind and relax, the last thing you think about is your health.
Yeah,
so
for sure. So talk to me about the journey. So obviously you had that turning point where you decided to do something. You went in 100%. Talk about the journey, because I think when we see health and fitness journeys or transformations, it's all about, you know, I went from this to this and, you know, I'm feeling so much better. But the thing we don't tend to see is the actual hard points. I'm sure you would have had those days.
I think what it was educating myself and learning a whole new way of living. It's like, it's not just about choosing better food or keeping up a regular exercise routine. It's legitimately about just changing the whole way that you think. And I think for me, we did the seminar with Calvin. That was kind of a little bit of a turning point too, because I was sat there and I'm thinking, I'm constantly like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And it's like, well, why am I not doing that? I'm stopping myself from doing what I really want to do. And I think when you really want to make a change and you're at that point and you're like, do you know what? I'm going to make this change. The best thing you can do is educate yourself on it. So start thinking, Google, YouTube. You know, we're in an age where those resources are available to us all the time. So I think for me, that's what I did. I just reached out. I started YouTubing different foods, just everything. I just kind of immersed myself into basically the health industry, or, you know, that environment. And I just thought, I'm going to take this on full force.
Yep. So what were some of the hardest parts along your journey? Because again, we talked about how you know, we normally see all the highlights about transformation, and you know, people having an amazing time and making transformation. But I'm sure, everyone I've spoken to, and I'm sure the case for me is the same, there would have been those days where things were incredibly hard. So can you give us some examples of times where, maybe you weren't thinking about just chucking it in, there probably wasn't that stage, but a time where things got tough?
I think the biggest thing, and it's across the board, is your food. And your food is the hardest thing. We're all here because we weren't eating properly. So I think for me, when you're constantly rushing the clock and you've got kids and you've got everything else, if you're not organised with your food or you don't have like a backup plan, like I know what I'm eating, they're the times that you completely panic and you think, or it's just temptation. It's just pure temptation. Like the kids are asking, can I have an ice cream? Can I have this? And you're like dishing out the ice cream and you're like, I want to dish myself out some too. So I think it's life's temptations that are your low points, and probably not being prepared because you haven't gained that knowledge through experience either. So my hardest points came with food. Not so much the exercise, because once you're in here, you're in here. And I think probably the first week, getting into that routine was a little bit tough, but I had a great support network and we were all doing it together.
Yeah.
So actually getting in the car, dropping the kids off at school and getting here, that was pretty easy to get into, but the food was the hardest point, I think.
Yeah, it always tends to be the food, the exercise. Once you immerse yourself in something that's fun and you can have a laugh,
you want to come back.
Yeah. So obviously we went through exactly where you were before, what your story was before.
Yeah.
What's your story now? If looking back at the person who you were eight weeks ago, in terms of health and fitness, as opposed to who you are now, can you kind of explain your current story, where you are now?
I think my whole frame of mind towards everything has changed, and because I've actually seen myself go from what I was to what I am now, I've learned through experience, and I think that's the best way to learn is through personal experience and through being in that community where we're all sharing our stories and our highs and our lows, and we're constantly talking and engaging and communicating, which I think is really important. So I think for me now, I'm just finding new challenges with fitness goals, even eating goals. I'm mixing it up now. I'm using things in the kitchen I probably would have previously looked at and thought that's expensive and that's crap. So I think my whole frame of mind's completely changed, and it's great because now what I'm learning, I'm sharing with my friends, and then I'm watching them learn and share. So it's this really nice cycle of once you're happy and you're healthy and you're positive, you're kind of offloading that, and it's great. It's great to be in an environment where there's lots of positivity and there's lots of laughter and support and encouragement. So it's really good.
Exactly. And the key thing I took from that was the sharing.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is we talk about more things like the Your Story program being more of a movement, and the actual people going through it leading the movement, because as a personal trainer, or the millions of personal trainers out there, nutritionists, they're trying to make a huge change in the world, but it's not until we have people that have immersed themselves and been through that, they're the ones that can actually lead and spread a movement. And there'll be many people watching this right now who are in your position, same position you were not too long ago. They're watching this. Some of them would have these beliefs that maybe they can't do it, or maybe even health might not be too high in the values hierarchy at the moment, but again, we want to give people actionable content that they can do at home, things so they can make a transformation at home, at the local gym, wherever it may be. So if you could talk to your previous self before you started and give yourself 3 tips that would set you on the right path, what would they be?
I think it is educating yourself. Educating yourself on what you're eating and being consciously aware. I work in a supermarket. I'm surrounded by labels, products, all that kind of thing. So you need to be consciously aware that you're being sold something. So I think when you get to that point where you're buying your things from your local supermarket and you kind of think, healthy food, it's expensive, excuse, I'm not doing it. It's actually not. It's just you've got to choose your products and the places, you've got to source them correctly. So I think the number one tip would be educate yourself on what you're eating. And for me, that's the number one, definitely, because you get fooled quite easily by something that you're looking at the cover because it's marketed to you, it's branded to you. But if you turn it over and read what you're actually eating, it's not really what it's saying on the front.
Yeah.
So I think that is number one. Just be so conscious when you're going to buy something. Just stop, think, what am I actually buying? Do I need this? And can I make it at home? So I think that's my whole action plan. So that would be my number one. The second one I think would be start loving yourself. Have a bit of self-respect. I think as women in today's society, we spend so much emphasis on I've got to look like this or I have to be this. And a lot of that is, a lot of pressure from the media. But I think you've just got to really love who you are and just understand who you are. Take the time to kind of look at, even how you've grown up, who the person that you are, what you value, all those kind of things. Just go through a little bit of self-reflection and sit there and think, I can be whoever I want to be. It doesn't matter how much money I earn, where I work, all these kind of factors. You can be whoever you want to be and you should love yourself for that. So I think that whole respecting yourself, that's probably number two. And number three, I think would definitely be get your support network, get your friends together, because I think that's really important. If you're all doing it together, you're all in the same position. So when you're having your bad days, you've got someone there to pick you up or someone to go, look, yeah, I had that day 3 days ago and this is what I did. So your friends are just so important, and I think it kind of comes with the whole self-respect thing. If you're all kind of empowering each other and building each other up, you're going to succeed in whatever you want to do anyway. So definitely, I think get a great support network, educate yourself on what you're doing, and that's it. I think that's probably what I would recommend.
Definitely, and it's one of those things where, if we commit to a process for 6 weeks, 12 weeks, or 6 months, whatever it may be, we're not going to be perfect throughout the whole time.
No.
Nor is that an expectation. No one, you can see all the fitness gurus, people on Instagram.
Yeah.
And the thing with Instagram and social media that we have to remember is that these people choose which photos they show you, so they can show you.
They're completely edited.
Exactly, and you know what? If they're not having these green smoothies every single day, they're having their days where they have potato chips or they have, whatever it may be, ice cream.
Yeah.
And we have to remember with nutrition, it's about doing the right things 80% of the time.
Yeah.
It's only that 20% of the time. And it's all about things being sustainable.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is you've got to make smaller changes over a longer period of time, and that's even things like your breads and you come into it and you think, oh, I've been eating all these kind of foods for so long, and now all of a sudden I'm just hearing that's wrong, don't eat that, don't eat this, don't eat, and you just get really overwhelmed and confused, and you're a bit like, well, what do I eat? So that's where the education comes, really important, because you learn then that it's okay to eat things occasionally and in moderation, because life's too short not to enjoy a chocolate bar every now and then, it's not the be all end all, but as long as you understand that when you start exercising, your body becomes almost like this machine, so you have to fuel your machine correctly to get the greatest potential out of it. So, and when you start exercising and you start seeing those results, I think that kind of motivates you a little bit more to want to eat, a little bit more on par as well. So it all it's like a domino effect. It all kind of comes together, you know what I mean? So.
Exactly. And I think the way we approach health and fitness in general is you look at any area. If you want to be an accountant, a lawyer, it's not something you do for 6 weeks and then suddenly you know everything. And I think we approach health and fitness in the exact same way. And the human body is incredibly complex. Everyone's different. What some people can eat, what keeps people motivated, from a psychology point of view as well, is so complex. And we don't give it time. There's that study that was done showing that it takes 10,000 hours to master something.
Yeah.
And we need to take that approach with health and fitness, understanding that it's a lifelong change we're making, and actually using that to empower ourselves. That over time we're going to learn more things.
It's manageable. It's like on an everyday basis, you can do this every day without fail. You can do it. So.
And the thing that I took from what you just said was momentum as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Momentum is one of the number one factors to those that get success. If you watch any sport or someone that's had incredible success, you'll see in sport maybe netball, Aussie rules football, wherever it may be, there will be a team that gets a goal, gets a second goal, and suddenly they've got all this momentum and they just can't make a mistake. And what that's all about is belief. What happens is we have belief, and when we have belief, we take more action. If you truly believe you can get something, you'll take huge amounts of action. When you take huge amounts of action, you get amazing results, and when you get amazing results, you get more belief.
And I think that, especially with women, that self-confidence and body image, they come hand in hand. Like, the actual level of confidence you have within yourself, it's so right in what you say. It's true. The more you start loving who you are and being that person you want to be, the better you feel. So the better choices you make, and the better decisions you make, and the better people you surround yourself with. So it really is. It's a life change. And I think sometimes, especially women, can be so harsh on and their expectation of what they want to achieve. Sometimes you think you want something, but it's actually not at all what you want to do. So you kind of have to really understand that. Even your genetics, you're not necessarily always going to be this shape that you want to be. You've really got to understand that you are who you are, genetically you are who you are, and you've got to embrace that and work on that. And once you completely accept yourself for who you are, that's like the biggest hurdle to actually overcome, is just accepting, this is my body, I'm going to eat correctly, I'm going to treat it right, and I'm going to have those bad days, and I'm going to have a few snacks here and there, but 80% of the time I'm going to do the right thing. And once you kind of get on that track, it's pretty hard to fall off that track. Once you're on it, you're on it.
I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
We've had so many people we've dealt with that have come through his doors, and you start to see patterns of who does well and who really struggles throughout the process. And those that accept health and fitness for what it is, that gives you more energy, as a result you live longer, all the other numerous factors, not just weight loss. Obviously, most people enter because of weight loss, but there's that deeper reason why they've actually come here. No one comes here to lose just say 10 kilos, because what is 10 kilos? It's just
that's
enough
right.
on a scale.
Well, I always explain to the girls as well, sometimes when you step on those scales, that, in physics terms, that's just the gravitational pull you have on the Earth's atmosphere. That's what that is telling you when you step on the scales. And that's why some women are a bit, they get upset, I haven't lost. But then when they measure their body, their centimetres are completely blown off. And that's what you have to realise as well. You've got organs in your body, you've got water in your body. These things are weight as well. So I think that whole understanding of human biology is exceptionally important as well, because you've got to understand what you're made up of in order to do everything correctly and actually do the right thing for you. I think that's really important to recognise what's actually going on. So 100%. Once you know that, you pretty much you're almost there, really.
Now, a question I have to ask, because there's so many people who probably watching this or have a friend who has done numerous different diets, numerous different training programs, and they just cannot keep motivated. What kept you motivated throughout the whole entire process?
I think it's that I'm almost one of those people that I get excited over a challenge, almost. Like, I'm not saying that I'm ridiculously competitive, even though I am a little bit competitive. But I think it's that whole change, this is something new. I think that's a massive motivation. Obviously, the people that you're around are real. Like, I've got the best friends that anyone could ask for, and they're great, and we really motivate and we stay in contact with each other, and that's number one. But the other thing is being excited that something new is happening, or it's kind of like being at school again. You're learning all these new things, all these new techniques, all these new exercises. Everything is new, and when you experience something new, it gives you all these emotions and all these kind of things that you may not have felt in a long time, and that's great. And I think that's a big motivator, just to be excited that you're doing something new.
So more about enjoying the actual process.
And I suppose at times people are going to feel like, I don't want to get up, I don't want to go to the gym, I don't want to eat this, I don't want to eat that. But the reality is, you've said you want to make a change, there's obviously something wrong for you to go, oh, I need to do something. So there's no point whinging and complaining. If you're going to do this, you've got to give it everything. Otherwise, you clearly don't want to make a change then. So that's kind of how I think anyway.
100%. And you know, we live in, people like to call we live in the information age at the moment, where you know, people are craving information, but what it more is we're living in an age of wisdom. People are craving wisdom because in terms of resources, you could jump on Google right now and type in diet, how to lose 4 kilos, train for whatever it may be, and you get millions of results. So there is no lack of resources. The thing we tend to lack is resourcefulness. If we have enough passion, creativity, desire, we can make anything happen. But you know, in terms of actual wisdom, I want to pass on to the people watching exactly what you ate, because if we can show them exactly what you ate, it's something we talk about modeling success. If someone's done something amazing, if you implement what they've done, you will achieve the exact same thing as them. So what did a day of eating look like if we go from, you know, when you woke up, so your first meal, all the way down to before you went to bed?
To be fair, I cook a lot as well. So if you don't cook a lot, start cooking, because that whole connection with food, I think, is really important. That whole making food, understanding food, that's kind of like the base. So for me, I've got a strong connection with food now. And I would start, because I exercise in the morning, so it's about 9:15. So I'd wake up, have a coffee, a banana on the way to the gym, do the workout, come home. I've started having the protein now, but during the challenge, I may have had a protein shake with a little bit of oats, or I'd try and do something that was a little bit more carbohydrate based, because I've just done a workout. I ate wholemeal pasta, which I make myself, which is really easy to do. So I think a lot of people are kind of scared almost in the whole kitchen world, which you don't have to be. I made all my pastas myself. I ate a lot of chicken. I made pestos myself, so sometimes I'd have like a pesto chicken salad. Lots of greens, lots of baby kale, lots of spinach, lots of plain low-fat yogurt. Almonds, nuts, bread I didn't eat, and I still don't eat, mainly because I just don't think you need bread. I think bread's like one of those treats almost, so I actually eat the mountain bread, which is the flat bread you can buy from Coles or Woolworths. I eat the rye bread, so anything kind of like that I'll tend to go for rye. For dinners I'd eat beef stews, I'd eat chicken stews, anything that's got bulked up with vegetable and protein, you know, tinned tomatoes, things like that. So a lot of my foods I made myself, or I could read what was in it. So it was very, I think, well balanced. 3 meals, your 3 snacks across the board, and my whole philosophy was, if I can't make it, then buy something where I can see what's in it, and I know that what's in it is going to be okay for me. So that was kind of my principle.
The thing I picked up, which lots of people have found interesting, is you had quite a bit of carbs in there. And the biggest thing is when people jump into diets, first thing they cut out is carbs. They stay completely away from carbohydrates. You know, with carbohydrates, what sort of portions were you having?
With the wraps, they're about, you know, I think about that, and they may have maybe 13 grams of carbs, I think, in it, which I've only, since doing the transformation, started understanding what exactly is in the food. But I would have that, even with like a teaspoon of peanut butter, and just kind of roll it up. And that was almost like, kind of like almost a meal, but in between a meal and a snack, if I felt like, oh, I'm a bit hungry. And I think my philosophy was never let yourself feel hungry, because then that is physically, that's your body telling you, you know, and I kind of believe that, and this is just me, this isn't like a professional opinion, this is my personal opinion, you should never feel like you're starving. Like, that's how I feel. So with carbs, I didn't look at carbs like, oh, I've read in, you know, Cosmo or online, they're evil, I'm not going to eat carbs. Because the reality is, carbs are, you need carbs. If you're exercising and you're